Yay Media Group.
Welcome to another episode of This Is Life, and I'm here with two of my greatest friends, Ethan and Lou, and we're supposed to be having a conversation about authenticity, where I'm going to be asking questions and having a great conversation. And unfortunately, right now,
gotta get the light right.
Setting up like,
no, see, we just trying to get the light right. You know what I mean? Like, we just trying to get the light right, bro. Like,
no, I want to throw this in there because I feel like this is an accurate representation of our friendship.
Yeah, probably.
Nothing's really taken serious.
Yo, and sorry if y'all keep hearing my chair squeaking. I'm sorry because I need some WD-40.
Is that your chair that's doing that?
Yeah, bro.
Are going crazy right now.
Crazy, bro. There's 5 people in this conversation. Us 3 and 2 of our chairs.
All right.
Yeah, how's this sound like?
You sound great.
All right, cool, whatever.
You do.
All right.
Either you sound fine. Okay. So I got some questions I want to ask about authenticity. Y'all cool with answering these questions first and foremost?
We got to give consent.
Yo, I need the document. Yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, need that DocuSign. You gonna ask me on air to answer these questions? Like,
oh my gosh, why? Okay, I'm just gonna ask the question.
Okay.
First question.
How serious?
When do you feel like your truest self?
Go ahead, bro.
I mean, honestly, I gotta be straight. Like, it's the South LA like refuge trips. Like, that's why I go like year after year. I say that's when I feel like the most myself, because I know I'm at a table with other men that I'm not being judged. Like, I'm just me, there to get what I need, be myself, talk how I talk. You know, with the pluses and the negatives. So I would say that context is probably when I feel most.
What about you, Lou?
I probably feel most myself. Man, I don't want to take Ethan's answer, bro. That was such a good one, bro. Because it's like, where else?
Let me ask you this then. Lou. Taking what Ethan said, do you feel like there are certain spaces within your own world where you can be yourself, like as a man? Do you feel like there are certain spaces in your personal world where you can be yourself, or do you feel like there's so many impediments to you being able to be truly, authentic?
Yeah, I would definitely say like around, childhood friends. Both of y'all know Adam. Like, anytime I get around him and the family, like, it's easy just to kind of like tap into like, my childlike energy. I don't have to think so much. I can just kind of exist and be there. Yeah, so I think just around like friends and family, that's the good one too. Like, just family in general. Like, when I go to my mom's house, bro, I'm like, I don't know, man. I just don't gotta, like, it's no one there to impress. They've known me since I was a child. You know what I mean? Like, look, they knew me since I was this guy,
Oh my God, is that
crazy, bro?
They knew me since I was him.
Like an extra on the Huxtables, bro.
Yeah, that's
that man say you an extra on Family Matters.
Not even on the main set is crazy.
You look good though.
Oh man. So let me ask you this question based on the answer you just gave, and Lou and Ethan, feel free to jump in this if you want to. But based on that answer, Lou, why do we feel like it's so important for us to live up to these expectations when we're around other people that we don't know? Like, we can feel so comfortable around our closest friends, our family. Like, why do we, what is that pull for us to feel like we need to perform or prove ourselves to strangers or other people we really don't know?
Yeah, man, it's such a big question because I think it's so many different things. You know, I think two that come to my mind off top is like just career, like perception with what I'm doing work wise. And I think the next one would be just protection. You know what I mean? Like you can't really trust it. Well, I mean, I speak for everybody. Like me personally, it's hard to trust people. So like when I go into different rooms and spaces, I'm always kind of like try to be myself, be warm, respectful, of course, but also don't want to do too much where like my kindness could be taken for weakness, or you know, someone could, I don't know, misread me and not necessarily give me like, I don't know, the respect I feel like I deserve, stuff like that.
Because you're kind?
Yeah, bro.
That sucks to like have to like hide the kindness, like really hide like who you really are. Because I've known you for years, and you are an extremely kind person. But to feel like you need to hold that back because you know the fear of that people could use that against you, like that's like boom, that's mind blowing,
bro. It's like the basketball court, right? Like we all grew up in Black communities playing ball. When you go out there, like
not all of us,
you're right.
We're not a monolith.
I tried. The thing though, but I do resonate with it because we were the family that had the basketball hoop on our block, so everyone came to our house.
Cornelius, you didn't play ball? You didn't play ball at all? Basketball?
He didn't have a backyard.
Did you see my kids? Did you? That's messed up.
Well, I mean, technically you did. Like it was just it was God's green earth. You know what I mean? Like
I did, to answer your question, Lou. I did not play basketball. I was a fat kid, so I rarely went outside.
You're right.
Yeah. I still don't go outside to this day, but I definitely didn't grow up playing basketball. But to your point, you were talking about like that mentality going to basketball court.
Forget it. Honestly, like don't even.
I resonate. No, once you just finish the analogy, because I believe there's somebody out there that can connect with that.
Oh, this is for someone I don't know who. No, bro. It's like you ever been to a basketball court and like if you don't come out there with like the right pair of shoes on, or it's like you know, maybe I don't know, like you don't look like confident or whatever the case, like you just won't get picked. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you're like 6'2". If you're not coming out there dribbling like, yeah, what's up? I'm ready. You know what I mean? It's just like you don't get picked up. I kind of feel like that's the real life experience for me. It's like if I don't, you know, show up in some sort of way in certain environments, then like I won't get picked up. You know what I mean? I won't get what I feel like I deserve, pretty much.
I know, Ethan, like you and I have had that conversation, especially relates to the church world, where I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but could you like expound on that a little bit? Like, what does that? How is that the same way? Like you kind of take it, like if you don't show up in certain spaces, that you won't be picked up, you know?
Yeah, man. I mean, there's an aspect of the church side. I actually had a brief conversation with one of my buddies on that today, like when being in church leadership and having to show up a certain kind of way, and how there's like different tiers of that within a family system, you know. So there's the whoever's on staff. So typically speaking, the male that works at the church and is on staff at the church, front facing role. And so they have to present their life and their conduct, their words, and, you know, having their stuff together in a certain kind of a way. So that's one picture. And then you have the spouse, and then the spouse has to show up a certain kind of a way, and they have to do it in two ways. They have to deal with it from how people are perceiving them, but then they also have to like think, okay, how are they perceiving me in connection to my spouse in the role that they have? And how does then that affect our financial unit? And then there's the kids, which, you know, growing up as a PK, that was something that, you know, was always kind of in the back of my head. Like, yeah, I want to live my life. I want to do my thing, you know, but how does this land on my parents? And I think kind of growing up within that, then there's always this, I'm constantly trying to frame how I look and how I come off in relation to how it affects others around me. And
Right.
the person that I'm often thinking about last is myself. Like, do I really enjoy this? Do I really vibe with these people? You know, growing up doing small groups, that was kind of thing. Like, I had to do a small group. But I was like, I don't vibe with these people. I don't want to talk life with them. I already know if I say this, that changing the language, that dude over there is gonna picture me in a certain way. He's gonna judge me in a certain way. And so I'm like, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. And so yeah, there's the context that you kind of grow up and live in, whether it's your work or your religion, that like you're constantly, or I'm constantly thinking like, how does it come off? And then being a Black guy that's like worked in a lot of predominantly white contexts as well, like how to come off as the safe Black guy, but then also still be Black enough to have the respect of the other Black people in the context. And bro, the amount of times that I've been told that, like, from white people, oh, I'm blacker than you, or from Black people, bro, you a little frosty.
Hold on. Bro, I know you just can't skip over that. Hold on.
There's a lot out there, man.
You can't skip over that and act like you did just say what you just said.
Hey, man,
you said you had white people who told you what?
That they were blacker than me. Because they knew the culture, because they knew the language, you know, the songs. Bro, again, it was like,
okay, I get it, because I mean, you basically grew up in a small group. I mean, because you were homeschooled.
I was homeschooled K through 12, baby. Turned out all right.
I mean, you basically grew up in a small group. It was just super small.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like you and your brother, right?
So my 3 older brothers, younger sister, and so like we grew up on the west side of Chicago and stuff, and like in our area, it was predominantly Black. But nonetheless, we were still the family. Like some of the movies that we watched growing up and whatnot, like my parents definitely opened the door for us to be multicultural and to be able to like connect with, you know, people from different ethnic groups. And I love to travel and all that kind of stuff. So like, I'm very grateful for that upbringing, but also like I knew stuff like, you know, songs from a movie called 7 Brides for 7 Brothers. Y'all don't know what that is. Yeah, it's because it's a white musical where about some 7 brothers that want to be married and they kidnap some wives. And it ends up being a great movie, but like it's a little twisted. But I'm also like, I knew movies like that.
But you didn't know Friday.
I didn't know Friday until I got older. Wow. So when I had like white people come up and be like, oh, like quoting the movies, you know, that was a thing that came up all the time.
Do y'all put raisins in your potato salad?
No.
Okay. Well, I mean,
you still with us. You still with us. We good.
No. Hey. My family's still Black, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know that.
You know what I'm saying?
We understand. We understand
still
that
piece. You know what I'm saying? It's sweet potato pies, family recipe. You know, like, so.
Oh my gosh,
I'm still out here.
So I'm glad you answered that, because I was going to ask you that question about you being like Black within a predominantly white context when it comes to church culture, and how you got to finagle that. Like you said, like I got to be safe enough around these white people to be the safe Black guy, but I still need to be Black enough to have, you know, to be able to distinguish myself from those individuals while still maintaining who I am, and then also, you know, being respected amongst the possibly small minority of Black people who are also in that same context, which can be difficult.
It's very difficult. Honestly, that roller coaster or that circus or whatever, that was part of the reason why I stepped out of full-time ministry. Now I'm not done with ministry. I still love doing it. I still love being involved with it. But why, like, I needed to step back because I found it increasingly difficult to be authentically me.
Right.
On the one hand, I can take a lot. You know, like if people treat me a certain way and whatnot, like I know how to hold the tongue. I know how to, like, you know, pick my battles, you know, when to do it, when not to do it, all that kind of stuff. However, but being in a position of leadership when I would see that same stuff happen to those that I'm trying to lead and care for or hire onto my team, like I couldn't hold my tongue. I couldn't be as patient. I couldn't be as nice because I was just like, on their behalf, like, we're not going to keep this cycle going. And so I decided to step out so that I could, one, figure it out again. Like, who am I? And how comfortable can I be? How do I show up authentically? And so I started to look for places and look for communities that I didn't have to change who I was in order to be accepted. And the more that I found those spaces, then I also, you know, like, it's a two-way street. You got the white people that's going to treat you one way. Then you also got black people that have expectations of how you should be, how you should talk, and what things you should care about, and all of that stuff. And so I also had to learn how to stand my ground in that context as well.
So, Lou, like, I know you grew up in a different context. You grew up in Detroit.
I thought you was going. You want to say Haiti so bad, bro. You wanted to say it, so I was like, where I grew up?
My brain, bro, was like, it ain't Haiti. I know it ain't Haiti. You wanted to be Haiti, bro, but it's not Haiti.
Yeah.
But then my other part of my brain was like, it's Chicago. It's definitely Chicago. But my heart was like, no, he's told me many times it's Detroit. So I got it. But you grew up within this context of, you know, living in Detroit. So I want you to expound upon, like, you know, how you've had to maneuver with your authenticity, you know, growing up there. But then I want you to add on to it. What has been the most difficult area of your life to be authentically you in front of people? Like, what is that part of your life where you say, dang, like, this is the hardest part for me to be able to express in certain contexts, certain communities, to other people around me?
Yeah, well, I mean, going to Detroit, man, like, I don't know, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't feel like I had to put on too much growing up because I really just didn't care. You know what I mean? I was just kind of like existing as a kid, and I was just always kind of doing my own thing. For whatever reason, I always kind of like I always did things that people thought were cool, whether I was drawing, and then the kids were kind of like, oh, he can draw really good, or I'll be like rapping or something like that. They're like, oh, well, he can rap like really cool. So like I felt like some way, shape, or form, I was always accepted off the rip for just me being myself. So I think I was able to show up authentically, really all the way up until like college, you know, like after high school. Like
What changed?
I think I just wasn't in like the construct of like school, like a system. I actually go out and do something. So now we're all looking at each other like, what are you doing? Right? Like, we're in high school, we're all there. In college, we're like, we know why we're here. We know what we're here to do, whatever the case. But like, you know, I dropped out of college. So once I dropped out, it was really just like, okay, what's your plan? Right? So now I'm like, oh shoot, all right, well, I think I was working at McDonald's or something. And I was kind of like, well, I'm working at McDonald's and I don't want to tell people I'm working at McDonald's. And then I'm gonna drop out because then I seen how that people look at me when they see me in the drive-thru, you know, place they order for fries or whatever. So now it's just kind of like, all right, cool. Well, if I'm not gonna be doing this, like, that's when my mind shift to where, like, if I'm not doing this, I have to put myself in position where I don't look crazy. And that all kind of came really quick. And to be honest, like it really hasn't stopped in some form or fashion. So
it's interesting you even brought that up, because as men, we tie our identity to what we do.
Yeah.
So to even use that as an example, like I worked at McDonald's and I worked in the drive-thru. I didn't want people to have that idea, have that idea of who I was, because that becomes a big part of who we are. So, but you just said that you still feel like that's still true for part of your life right now, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, for sure.
Why do you, I guess, why is that the case?
I don't know, man. Just working in the entertainment industry. You know what I mean? You just walk into so many different rooms and
like Diddy Entertainment, is this?
Yeah. I
Like
had the
what?
project with Bill Cosby, man. That was a real sticky situation.
I don't know if he telling the truth right now. I don't know. I don't know, bro. Yeah, I don't know. See, yeah. Gotta be authentic. Gotta be authentic.
Oh God. Oh God! I mean, but I'm trying to add clarity for the people
For
because
sure.
entertainment is such a broad world.
Yeah.
Like you shooting OnlyFans videos. You
Yeah.
is this
I got the camera set up in the
Nah,
bedroom.
man, chill.
all right? All right.
I mean,
I set
where's the
myself up
podcast
for that
going?
one.
You set yourself up, bro. Like, see, like you gotta reel it back
I
in.
set
Like,
myself up.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I set myself up.
Ah,
Okay.
it's okay.
Turning the ship.
You
Question.
can edit that out.
Question. No, we're gonna keep that. We're gonna keep. But I got another question. Do you feel like the both of you? Do you feel like social media affects your ability to really be yourself?
I mean,
you know what I was? Go ahead. No, go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah,
I talk
please.
a lot, so it's all good. All right. I mean, look, I'm not gonna say it's social media that does it, but I will say that it's an avenue where the likes, the following, the interactions, all of that stuff, like you like it. I enjoy it. I love when I create a dope piece of content and people respond, people engage with it, and so it does make it easier to want to lean that direction more consistently. Like what will people engage with? What will people like? And so although there are things where I'm like, okay, I want to be authentic in that, but it's only a part of who I am. It's only a facet, or all right, I'm going to talk about this stuff, or I'm going to show this kind of content. And I think it just makes it a little too easy to compartmentalize my life and show people what I think will be acceptable, enjoyable, and engaging.
Dang.
Yeah, it's good.
So, and this is a real question. Real question. So, based on what you're saying, do you feel like your life is just a big show for everybody else?
I would say,
and you can be free to answer that too, Lou. Like for real.
I would say it definitely used to be. Now,
but how is it not right now? If I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. I think it's because the only way that I would say no, not right now, is because I'm actively trying to change that. Like I'm actively trying to and I'm thinking about, okay, like who am I? How do I really feel about this? I would say I'm more intentionally taking time to think about how I feel about something. What really is my opinion on things. And I guess now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, I'm in the process of doing it, but I haven't accomplished it yet.
I got you.
Where I'm doing the work behind the scenes, behind the camera. And I go like, even doing this podcast, I was like, like I'm about to be found out. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So like, it's definitely a work in progress. But I got to go back to the fact of like actually having a community of men that I see year after year that like actually see me, actually see the progression of life, and we actually talk about the real stuff. That gives me a groundwork to where other people that don't accept me, I'm like, nah, but I got the table. I'm good. Like I actually have a foundation now that I didn't have before. So I guess that's the area where I could say like, I don't feel like my life is a show like it was before, because there are people that actually know me.
Got you. What about you, Lou?
Yeah, man, I feel like right now, I mean, I rarely post, which I really enjoy. I don't think that I'm kind of like living through my socials at all. I think at one point, I think that the release of dopamine was really heavy though. It was like I would I would travel and it's like, yo, until I get this picture, I can't enjoy this trip. You know what I mean? It was kind of like that whole thing. But it was never a thing where I was trying to like mold myself online so that it can translate to who I am in like reality. I think my only thing with social media right now is that people perceive me to be a certain way that I'm not. And it's probably because I don't smile.
How do they perceive you to be?
Mean, arrogant, a trick.
Really?
Women have told me that they think I'm a trick, right? Yeah, I know.
Define.
So this is good. I had to ask, like, what do you mean? So a trick is like somebody that's like a woman may find interest in me because they think that I'll spend like money on them or like dating or something like that. Threw me off, bro. I promise. I never thought that was a thing.
So you're not gonna spend money on the women?
Not in the way of a trick.
Bet.
Yeah. But that's what I've been told. They was just like, yeah, you know, like specifically, she told me that she was out. Don't be surprised if women get disappointed when they find out she won't spend money on them. And I was like, what does that mean? Yeah, it was crazy because I think the conversation was. I'm pivoting a bit, but the conversation was talking about like how women are expecting things in the dating space, and I know this is not where we're going with this conversation, but that's kind of how we got on there. Yeah.
Well, I do want to ask you, since you're on that topic, as a single man, do you find it difficult in your singleness to be, you know, authentically you as you know, date or search or whatever that looks like? Do you find it difficult as a single man to really be who you are?
Yeah, I think like it was really easy for me to give people my representative, like the first couple interactions of meeting somebody, like kind of just like making sure I'm showing up in the light that I feel like would be impressive or it would leave an impact on them in a positive light. But I don't know. I'm really at an age and I've had enough experience now where like that goes away quickly. I'm just kind of like, all right, you know.
Yeah.
What you see is what you get, man. Like we're not about to play these games too long, you know.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple more questions, and then I'm gonna let you guys go. But both of you, I want you to answer this question because this came up with a buddy I was talking to at the gym a couple of days ago. We were on this conversation of authenticity, and he asked me this question. So I'm gonna throw it back at the two of you, and it only has to be one thing. But in the question of authenticity, if there was one thing that you would say I would want to change about myself, what would that thing be? And then the caveat to that question is, if it's possible for you to make that change, why have you not already? Y'all Negroes don't take that long to think. Come on, y'all are not
That's a
in
deep
that
question, bro. Like
I'm playing, bro. I'm just playing, bro. I was trying to break up the silence.
We need to bring some more levity back to the conversation. If you want to change something,
it's a conversation about authenticity, you know.
And then tell me why you haven't done it yet.
I know, because when a dude asked me, it kind of hit me.
Yeah.
You know, because I was like, dang, like, you know, I feel like I'm a pretty authentic guy. But there are things like, dang, like, you know, if I could change that, then I wonder if it made me think, because I was like, dang, if I could change this, would it make me love myself more? And then that's when he came up with the question of, well, if you could, then why haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was telling him, it's like I felt like it was this tug of war of I shouldn't have to change anything about myself to love myself more, but I can't lie to myself that I built up this mentality, I built up this ideology in my head that if this was perceived differently or if this was different, then I may like myself more, if that makes sense.
This what y'all talk about in between sets.
Don't do this. That's not the context.
You drop the weight and be like, yo. I think I have one. I think for me it would be to just be more consistent, like following through with like ideas, following through with maintaining relationships. I don't know, maybe if I had to, it's like talking through it right now, I feel like it's really just a follow through, man. And I think like being an entrepreneur for this long, Like I've had to always find a way to recondition myself to, because I don't have like a 9 to 5. I don't have to wake up every morning at 6 and whatever the case. So my life can kind of not be structured. I think doing that for so long can create flexibilities that are like, that won't have positive outcomes. You know what I mean? Like, I can get too lax. I can not necessarily, I can get that done later. I'll do it when I get home. It's like, nah, well, let me just knock it out now. You know, so just kind of like translating that to the follow through, man. I think it just takes me time to add more structure to my lifestyle, and I guess bulk up my routine as well. You know, it kind of helped me stay in that way. So then it's just kind of like, all right, bet if I have an idea to create something, let me actually just knock this out, get it started, and I like have the idea, write it down, make a couple calls, and then it kind of just falls to the waistline, you know. So yeah, I think that's one thing for sure. It's just my follow through consistency. Yeah.
What about you, Ethan?
Man, I'm sitting here thinking, and like, there's been multiple things that like my brain is kind of latched onto, but then when I try to boil it down, it always came back to a deep fear of being alone. And I think if there was one thing that I wish that I could fully eradicate, and maybe I can, I don't know, just being real with it, it would be that, because I see it it pops up in every area, whether it's, you know, wanting to like go off and start this business idea and whatnot. And the thought of, all right, what if I get rejected? What if people don't join me? What if I'm just doing it by myself? Or what if I get too comfortable with being by myself, that I lose the desire, the need for other people as well. And I stop investing in those relationships and stuff. And so, like, I know it's a deep rooted thing, you know, probably some daddy issue or something like that I need to unpack. But that fear of being alone at the end of the day is the biggest thing that I feel like shows up the most. You know, and stops me from either speaking up in certain areas or really fighting for something that I want. You know, because what if they don't vibe with it? What if they don't want the same thing? You know, and thus I'm alone at the end of it. Why haven't I changed it?
Yeah.
Or why haven't I worked on it, bro? Like that's the hardest part to answer about the whole thing. Because I'm both faced with, I think in certain areas where I was a victim, but then also I'm making myself a continuous victim by not confronting it. And perhaps it's something, you know, there was I don't know who said it, maybe it was in a movie or something like that, but when they're like, oh man, dude, like, you know, when soldiers are on the battlefield and whatnot, and people are like, what, well, how do you go into it, not be afraid? And like, no. Like, being brave is not the absence of fear. It's facing it and just showing up. And I think that's an area that I still struggle with at times, you know, and I'll lean on my talent. Being brave, I think on a personal level, you know, my talent, my abilities, my skill sets allow me to step into rooms and to show up in big stages and things like that. Like I can show up, but I think on a deeper level, knowing potential, knowing what I'm capable of, you know, what in regards to what people will see and what people won't see. I often still battle that deep rooted struggle of like, what if I end up alone in all of this?
Wow. Last question. Last question for both of you. I want you both to answer this, but if there was one thing you could tell your younger self about being authentic, what would that be? You can go to little Daniel and say, Daniel, boom. And that would help little Daniel truly come out of his shell to be who he is. If you can go back and say, little Ethan, boom. And I would have him to come out of his shell to be who he is. What would be that thing you would say?
I would probably say, I'll probably try to convince my little me to to not focus so much on, like, though you're getting attention from, you know, different talents, gifts, whatever, like, don't focus too much on that, because I know it feels good to, like, you know, get the applause and have the friendships.
Yeah.
But I would say something along those lines, like find the things that aren't based on the applause of others that you can continue to dig into and explore.
That's good, bro.
Love it. What about you, Ethan?
I think a question keeps coming to mind. Like, I'm just trying to like visualize like younger Ethan there. And I think one question I would probably ask myself is, do you want them to love the mask, or do you want them to love you? And I would just encourage him to just like, yo, be the weird kid that you are. Like, have fun. Don't be so alarmed by saying the wrong things or making mistakes or messing up, because you actually have the tenacity and the skill sets to be great. So, you know, but make sure that you can look in the mirror and say, man, I think that Ethan is great. So I think that's what I say.
Dang, I love that. Well, guys, I mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys taking the time out to be on here. For those of you who are listening, I did not go through these questions with them in the beginning, which is why their answers are purely authentic. And I guarantee if they probably had a little bit more time to think about them, we probably would have had some different answers. But I love the fact that they're off the cuff and they didn't really have time to really explore what these things are. And I would love to be able to do this again. I feel like conversations like this, especially amongst men, needs to happen more often, because we get a lot of conversations like this with women where they're expressing these things, but men, we don't talk about these things. And since we don't talk about them, other men don't have an opportunity to really listen to them or really hear them, so that we can be like, oh, dang, I don't feel like I'm by myself. Like, Lou, I really understand you. I really, because I feel like I'm like you, or Ethan, like, I get that because I grew up like this and I'm in that same context, and this is how I feel. So I appreciate you boys joining us, joining me, and for everybody who's listening, everybody who's watching, we always appreciate you joining us with This Is Life. Make sure you lock in, subscribe, watch, share with your friends. Ladies, you know, get your guys on this, get them to listen to this so that they can have an idea of like where they are, to be able to say like, hey, I connect with that. Like I said, I want to love to do this more often. So really appreciate you guys. Introduces, we out. Appreciate you boys.